We're almost there. Let's bring it in. Okay, cool. More power. More power. Power. Is it weird to do the juicy one? Yeah. So, yeah, thank you all for joining on this very beautiful evening that the Earth has provided for us on Earth Day. It's an opportunity for us to come together and to be inspired by the natural beauty of life and the beauty that we cultivate within ourselves. There's so many beautiful people here that I'm looking forward to highlighting this evening. And before I get into that, obviously it's important for me to introduce myself. So my name is Tom Bassett. And affectionately, I like to be called Juicy. So you'll probably hear some people go both ways tonight, but my preference is Juicy. And I just briefly want to share a little bit of that story because I feel like it sets some context. Because for me, taking on the name Juicy, and I describe it as it's my archetypal name. I'm here for a purpose. I'm here for something greater than myself. And that is what actualization is all about. It's discovering your purpose, recognizing that you're part of something larger. And to me, really quick on the story side of things, after Actualize is the fourth platform that I built. Since moving to Boulder in 2014, I've built 3 other ones. Some of you may know One Boulder. That was the third platform that I built. At the end of that, I got to having $900 left and no credit. Now, I'm a person who can do a job and make 6 figures, no problem, right? So I kind of had the red pill, blue pill choice in that moment. And I was like, I've built enough network, I've built enough relationships, I have this story that I'm a part of something larger than myself. Why not live it? Lean into the experiments. Trust fall into life. Trust the mycelial web of network and connections that I've built. Came out the other side. Worked with Steve and Humanities team, which, Steve, thank you for hosting us tonight. This is Steve's house. And again, life showed up in more beautiful ways than I can imagine because I'm not going to go too deep into Steve's story right now, but I am so blessed to have him as a mentor, as a coach, as somebody to work with, and to really show up for this greater mission of making conscious living pervasive by 2040. So, honor and privilege to be here at Steve's house tonight. Thank you. And again, this is an opportunity for, me stepping into that trust fall and support of life. I'm here for a deeper purpose, and I also can't do it alone. That's why all of you are here. You're my friends and family, and some of you I haven't even met yet. Some of you on the video I haven't met yet. I hope to. A lot of people there's some really amazing people. I love the Bill Nye quote. It's everyone you'll ever meet knows something you don't. And I love to be in that curiosity of life. And to me, I feel like that's that spark, that fire, that creativity, and that passion that I'd really love to see ignited in everybody else. So I'm here to represent that as the juicy life, the abundance of life, the flowing of life, because that is what we need on this planet right now. Right now. We need people standing up in just how beautiful life can be when we take care of ourselves in our well-being. When we show up just like Danimal and Milena outside doing this beautiful acrobatic performance that takes years of practice and work. Doing this work, I've been doing coding and developing for almost 15 years now. It takes time sometimes to build these skills. But once we do, we get to see each other in our inner artists. And I just want to leave, before we start transitioning into some of the community talks for the evening, with one of the quotes that I love. I love some of these quotes, but that an artist is an instrument through which the universe reveals itself. So the more we come through in our artistry, our creativity, and our beauty, the more we recognize that in every moment we are artists creating, the more we can recognize that art is our birthright. That we can support others in their art. And the more beautiful the world that we can create together. So the last thing I want to share, because obviously actualization comes from Maslow's work of actualization. This is the hierarchy of actualization. And I just want to cover this because this is a theme that's going to come in throughout the night. The physiological needs on the bottom, once people have their physiological needs, it's not always a linear thing, but obviously if you have your air, water, food, and shelter, you can obviously have a little bit more capacity to do other things in the world. And once you have those types of needs taken care of, you have your safety needs, personal security, employment, resources, health, and property. That obviously becomes easier when you have your other basic needs taken care of. Then you kind of look for love and belonging, friendship and intimacy, family, and a sense of connection. This is what I think a lot of people are looking for, just aching for, begging for in the world right now. So many people feel alone. So many people feel separate. Love and belonging. Came up in a conversation the other day of it almost being like the public utility of what is the service that we're offering. And love and belonging is something that I really do think is important for us to really bring some focus on in our culture and society. On top of that, you get to esteem. Now you feel like you're part of something, you're creating your joy and your passion, and you're in your recognition and strength and freedom. And then once you kind of achieve all of those things, you go into your self-actualization, which is becoming the highest expression of who you are. And I just briefly want to touch in on Maslow towards the end of his career. He was like, self-actualization really actually isn't even the top of the pyramid. There's self-transcendence, that we become part of something larger. We are unique puzzle pieces. Barbara Marx Hubbard would share, that we are in this unique self-symphony. And we each have our different instruments to play. And also we need some coordination of how we're working together. I think music is a great analogy for how we can vibe together and support each other in our unique instruments. So this is going to be the theme as we're going through the talks this evening. So we have some basic, food things going into safety, belonging, and into self-actualization. So the first bit that I want to bring up is Ajare and the Yellow Barn Farm. Yeah. Oh, wait, hold on. Here you go. Microphone. Yeah.
Hello, does this work? Hi, recognizing some faces in here. My name is Audrey Wyckoff. My family actually became the stewards of the land at Yellow Barn Farm, which was actually originally called Autumn Hill International Equestrian Center, when I was about 8 years old. And my whole life, I really got to be a part of that land and really learn from her. And she was the greatest teacher, and really getting the freedom to wander through every nook and cranny and play with the animals and just really learn from nature herself was something incredibly magical. And as I grew up and my life kind of took me away from Boulder, and my parents were really trying to figure out what to do with this land, and it had been up for sale numerous times. We were really trying to find the right stewards to take over and not just turn it into development and property. And then eventually COVID hit, and I started hearing this big call in my head to come run back to Boulder. And right around that same time, we got connected with Padme and Corwin, and they connected us with Nick and Marissa at Drylands Agroecology Research. And this entire idea started to spread about what would it actually look like if we transitioned this 100-acre historically landmarked property into a regenerative demonstration farm. So moving from horse-trodden pastures into regenerative agriculture, using animals in rotation, actually rebuilding our relationship and connection to our land and our food. And that became this incredible journey over the last 3 to 4 years that we've kind of been sprinting full tilt and bringing this land back to life, really focusing on the soil itself. And it's been this incredible, incredible journey of really reconnecting yourself and tethering yourself, rooting yourself to a place, and actually finding purpose and community that starts to build around place. And within that, a lot of what I had studied was around economics, social design. How do you actually bring entrepreneurship in? How do you make it so that people can feel tethered to land and find a sense of purpose, find their right seat? As everyone is a puzzle piece, what does it actually mean to actually sort ourselves and identify what every single unique puzzle piece is? And that felt like something that I had always seen was missing from many of these corporate jobs where you kind of end up just sucking your soul out in these 9-to-5s and you don't have that sense of purpose. What are you good at? What are you passionate about? That ikigai of what can you truly do that also has an impact. And it became my just absolute mission was to really understand who each and every one of these people were and understand how do we mindfully plant a community? How do we allow a community to thrive? Using all of these ideas, and I often use Maslow's hierarchy of needs and understanding that shape wasn't actually necessarily a pyramid, it was more of a toroidal field where that energy is constantly moving from the inside to the outside. And as we started to look at that, that even in our hierarchy structures, it's not really a pyramid, it's dynamic hierarchy, and everything is constantly in a state of flux. And as you start to really look at that and you start to mimic your economic structures and your social design structures off of your land design structures, because that's your foundation, everything stems from that. And because we are inherently nature, if we start to recognize our own inherent nature and we kind of move ourselves out of the way and allow ourselves to start to self-organize, we start to look a lot like nature. And nature has a lot of spirals, it has a lot of toruses, it has a lot of beautiful geometry. And that really became the foundation of this idea for us of social soil. What does it actually mean to build and repair the soil between all of us, within our relationships? How do you build trust? How do you understand when that baton needs to be passed from one person to the next to say, you have more knowledge in this domain than I do. I'd like to learn from you. Someone who's a skilled expert in one thing may be a little sprout or a seedling learning to become a tree in a completely different topic of knowledge. And that's really the beauty, that you do have something to learn from every single person that you interact with. You just have to come with curiosity. And nature really teaches us how to be curious. Everything within nature is a teacher. And it's been such a beautiful gift to get to meet all of these incredible people, to mindfully plant ourselves and repair the social soil to rebuild trust, that you start to see how the land heals every person that walks in these spaces, that gets to tend to the land and tend to the soil and eat that food. And we start to see the circularity that's built into these systems, where we have this incredible compost program where we're collecting food waste from our community, and that goes towards feeding our pigs. And then the pigs feed our community. All of this is very symbiotic. And once you see how you can start to stack these functions where we don't have to be so siloed from each other, all these business ideas or the people themselves or the land itself with all of our fences and all of our ways to keep others out, it actually starts to move from intense competition and separation into collaboration and coherence. And it's a beautiful, beautiful thing to start to witness. And it's something you can't really control. We've really shifted from this idea of controlling and dominating nature and coming in and saying, how can I actually collaborate and work with you? How do I actually start to move within your own geometry so that starts to resonate with mine? And it's just been really, really beautiful and fun, and it's full of play, and it's really taught all of us of how do you show up and how do you be a leader and how do you move within these domains and knowledge fields and start to learn and grow and become a tree that creates this canopy and creates this root system and this mycelial network that starts to connect and move outward and support more and more people. More and more ideas can now be planted in this beautiful social soil we've cultivated. And that takes a village. It absolutely takes a massive effort of many, many people lending their hands and coming together and giving their gifts. So I just want to thank all of you for showing up and doing this work every single day. It's really asking yourself, how can I show up? What gifts can I offer? What can I share with the world? And what can I learn from the world? Would very much invite any of you to come out to Yellow Barn and see what we're doing. We'll be doing a big action day. We decided to do it on Wednesday. We've postponed this event 3 times because we are at the mercy of nature and her weather. But Wednesday looks to be beautiful. So if you'd like to come see what we're doing, you can definitely come onto the land, help us clean and maintain our spaces, and learn a little bit more of what it means to be truly rooted in community. Thank you.
Thank you, Audrey. And I just have to say, I got an opportunity to help build their chicken coop, put up some fence around their chicken coop. And let me tell you, it's one of some of the more fun times that I've had. All right, so next up, we got Kathy from Joy's Kitchen. And while she's coming up here, I'll just share briefly, while I was in my nomad phase, and we're talking about Maslow's hierarchy here, knowing that I had food security was a fundamental change for me, of saying, oh no, I need to work because I'm not going to have my basic survival needs met. Knowing that I had the connections, I had the resources, I had the food. that I needed.
Do you remember that day? We had a great day that day.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I got to help out. I think that was the day after your place flooded, actually.
Yeah. I have a firm memory of it, with the flooding happening and you sitting out eating
Those
strawberries and
those
peaches
yeah.
and being juicy.
Yeah.
Wow. Look at how beautiful y'all are. So thank you, Juicy, for making everybody so juicy to show up so juicy tonight. They're all looking very good. It's nice to get dressed up with you guys. Joy's Kitchen started in 2012 as a simple project to see how much food we could recover from waste that was viable. And as we stepped into that, we saw a growing crisis and started to learn and understand that growing crisis. And that enormous project started to propel when I walked into conscious community, ecstatic dance specifically, and started to meet other like-minded people. We had been doing our project in smaller capacities for about a year before we came into conscious communities. And immediately it dawned on me that all of us that like to talk about actualizing and move through modalities of healing and community and connective conscious relating, all of us would really like and talk about stepping into tangible change. So we decided to really gear this program of Joy's Kitchen into the hearts, minds, wallets, and action of the conscious community. Currently, we recover between 6,000 and 10,000 pounds of food a day that is viable for our community in Lakewood, Colorado. We feed about 5,000 families, about 20,000 people in those family units, food for a week or more in a free market situation where there's no restrictions and no limitations. So bringing a community together like that to get that much done requires a ton of coordination. And it turns out the coordination isn't that big. And I think that that's why a lot of folks don't step in to creating tangible spaces and tangible, long-lasting, sustainable projects. When we look at Joy's Kitchen and that basic need of food and water, it is incredible to see after 12 years, people who came in with nothing, with no food, no shelter, no community, start to become nourished and start to thrive and get juicy, right? Like get juicy in their bodies and their brains start to function. And children who did not have dinner on their table now have dinner every night on their table. And higher brain function starts to happen and higher problem resolution starts to happen. And togetherness and community starts to form. When I get to go into Joy's Kitchen and see 22 people from a diverse range of communities coming together, 80% of those from conscious music and movement communities. It is a phenomenal thing to witness. So many people working for one common good of us all and us being one. So yeah, that's what Joy's Kitchen does. And we're so glad to have you take a part of it, to step into it, to bring your gifts. Everybody, like she was saying, everybody has a gift. When you walk into Joy's Kitchen, you can utilize that gift in this community project, in this mutual aid capacity, and develop and spread your gift even further. How many people in the room have been to Joy's Kitchen? Great. Yeah, and those of you who didn't raise your hand, please check us out, to check us our website, joyskitchen.org. There's a really cool calculator that's been added to our website recently that tells you the exact amount of food that you're saving when you donate $1. It tells you exactly how many families that's feeding. It tells you exactly what your carbon footprint offset is. So please go explore a little bit. Think about taking 2 hours of your time, invest with us. We are 100% community funded. We'd really like to keep it that way. This is a project that community can support, and we really believe in all of us. Having the platform that you guys are developing is going to be this great source of giving everybody the opportunity to step in. So choose to step in and choose joy. Thank you, Jason.
Beautiful. And just so everyone's aware, there's a number of presenters tonight, and I'll be sending out an email with everybody's website and way to stay connected with them afterwards. The last little bit, just while we're moving out of the bottom level of Maslow's hierarchy of physiological needs, I just also want to call out the water tonight is provided by El Dorado Springs, which is a local spring just down the road. So bringing us back to good connection with water. I want to bring up Alex Jacobson, who is definitely a beautiful leader in the community who's bringing people together through real estate. And this comes back to the safety needs. People need a place to stay.
I really do appreciate that you started with Maslow's hierarchy, because that is absolutely something I'm passionate about, is creating sanctuaries, creating a home base, a place of inspiration like this beautiful home. And something that I love seeing in Boulder is all these amazing, amazing community homes with amazing events and healing and education. But what I'm not seeing is people owning these homes. And I see everybody putting in the work, creating agreements, creating partnerships. You're doing all the work without the benefits of ownership. So I do want to just kind of inspire people today. Like, we're all here to plant seeds, but we can't plant seeds unless we've got this. So I just want to say, not only is this the most accessible way to create generational wealth for your family, but it also is going to give you a lot of freedom to throw events and to do what you want without having a landlord or a roommate situation. This is dirt. This is dirt. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Soil. Thank you, thank you. It's good soil. I think what's going on in Boulder is it feels like there's a high barrier to entry to buying property here. But if you've got 4 roommates, 4 people that you want to sign a lease with and live in a house with for a year, you're already there. And I think just like ask some questions, like see if you can go and buy a piece of property. You don't need a ton of money to do it. There's tons of options out there, seller financing and DSCR loans. I guess my point is you don't have to know all the ways to do it, but just start asking questions. I can look around the room and tell you that there's a lot of homeowners in this room who have done it, who've gone through it, and it's accessible. It's there for you. What I would love to see more of is visions like this, where we're creating community together, conscious community together. We're sharing resources together. We're giving, like Ajare with the Yellow Barn Farm. She's providing jobs. She's providing housing. You look around, there's actually a lot of this going on. It's just not so public. Like the Yellow Barn Farm on my way, excuse me, not Yellow Barn Farm, the Golden Hoof on my way here, drove by that. And that is like a thriving community, no permits pulled, all stick and mud and cob built. And they've got jobs, they've got interns, they've got a greenhouse that produces fruit all year long in the winters of Colorado. So yeah, like Juicy said, if you're interested in learning more, I'd love to just be a resource for anybody that just wants to get educated, because it doesn't take a ton of money. It just takes you guys and your will. And we've got a lot of really creative, smart people here. So, if you're going to team up to create a conscious house, team up and buy some dirt, buy some soil. Sorry. Thank you. Yeah, you got it.
Thank you, Alex. And I also just want to tag one thing on there, and we'll talk about it a little later in the evening. Sometimes it takes time to bring people together in those community homes, and it takes that structure and that agreement. And that's one of the things that myself and Padme, who are working together on Actualize, have been working on for a very long time, and we're excited to share that wisdom, that information to help bring people together. And we'll share a little bit more about why later. But in the meantime, let's move on to our next share, Zaya, who also is going to be sharing on his real estate project. He's also more on the Denver side of things.
That's me.
That's you. Beautiful.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I feel so lucky to be here. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So we haven't actually talked about this, but I founded my company after having an experience of self-actualization for the first time in my life. It was at Burning Man, of all places. And as I felt the self-actualization, I wanted to create a company that shuttled people up Maslow's hierarchy of needs as a symbiotic system. Now, if you're not a billionaire or a centimillionaire, it's really difficult to enact change. But one of the ways that we can enact change is by changing the way that we invest. So I'll try and keep it short and talk briefly about how profitable transformational communities create impact, profit, and how you can get involved in it today. So we focus primarily on mental health facilities and sober living facilities. Hugely impactful in Colorado. We're disproportionately affected. And helping build these facilities not only reduces people struggling with these kinds of ailments, but also helps people reduce homelessness, the families affected, right? It reduces a tax on our medical system. And the cost of addiction is also very high. So it's also very profitable. The average cost of addiction recovery is $56,000 in Colorado. It's insane, really unapproachable. Now, some people get help through things like insurance, private pay, or even government assistance. But what we do at Conscious Cashflow is we help entrepreneurs who are already successful. So I'll tell one brief story about a friend of mine, JLR. JLR is a little techie bro. He's got like the tech bro glasses, the button-up shirt. He's maybe 5'8", and what he did is he purchased an old abandoned prison and turned it into a recovery facility. That facility now generates $5 million in revenue and helps thousands of people a year. So what we do at Conscious Cashflow is we empower entrepreneurs who do amazing work with their real estate and help them buy more and expand their impact. So if you want to learn more about how you can invest in projects that both make an impact and make a return, please find me in the back. Thanks so much.
All right, coming into a beautiful part of the evening. Steve, I'd love for you to come up. And with Steve, we are quite blessed. Do you want me to just go ahead and start with the video and take it from there? Or?
Sure.
Cool. So we've got this wonderful video from Humanity's team. Highly recommend everybody check it out. Steve can share a little bit more on it, but this video is a really great.
Ancient scholars spoke of humanity being interconnected with all things, that our planet and everything on it is one giant ecosystem, living and breathing together, interdependent and reliant on each other. Yet all our lives we have been told that we are separate, that we have no control over our own fates, that what happens to us is somebody else's fault. We live in isolation from each other, dividing ourselves by our beliefs, our locations, our appearances. We see other people on the planet as resources to be used, not as a greater whole, of which we are but a small part. But the truth is we have a choice. We can keep living under what Albert Einstein referred to as the illusion of separation. Or we can recognize the interconnectedness of all things and embrace all living creatures and the whole of nature. We can open our eyes to the simple fact that we have the power to create a sustainable and flourishing planet by living into this awakened consciousness on a daily basis. Here at Humanity's team, we choose awakened consciousness. Our mission is to make conscious living pervasive worldwide by the year 2040. Many believe that when 8 to 10% of humanity is engaged in conscious living, we will reach a planetary tipping point where everyone will gradually adopt these same practices and ideals. This means we need 800 million people to become conscious expressions of oneness on this earth. Our Changing Humanity's Future initiative is designed to help achieve that mission. And we're gathering tens of thousands of people who make the same choice every day. Our revolutionary transformational education platform, Humanity Stream Plus, has grown from 427 subscribers in November 2021 to 3,125 as of November of 2023. We have hosted 14 global oneness summits in the last 14 years. In 2022 alone, we reached 200,000 participants who attended 31 panels and engaged with 100 plus speakers who shared their insights and wisdom. We reach more than 1 million people across several social media channels, close to 2 million people by email. And our podcast has been downloaded 363,000 times and counting. Our numbers are growing steadily, and we have made substantial progress, but there is more to be done. Together, we can do this. We have one planet. We have one shared future. We are all on one path forward. We are all one.
I'm Loredana from Humanities Team Romania. And don't forget, we are all one. Suntem cu toții una.
Todos somos uno. Itwala nasibona abanye agarariye humanity team iwacu mu Rwanda. Murakoze.
I'm Didi from Humanities Team Trinidad Tobago, and we are all one.
Hola, soy Said de Humanities Team Perú. Todos somos uno.
हम सब एक हैं.
We are all one. We are all one.
Brought up some
Thank
tears
you.
for me. Really
Thank
did.
you. Yeah.
Ancient scholars spoke of humanity.
I gotcha. So the restroom. Get to the important things first. For those of you that don't know, you're going to go around the corner. The office is the first door, and the second door is the restroom, if you're looking for one. I'd love to just give a round of applause to this man. I love this man. He lives it. I mean, he said it himself. He lives it, and I'm sure that's why you're here, because you know this man. He lives it, and he's living into his bigger self, like this whole planet around us. As you get from the video, all of us actually left our great jobs to do what we're doing. I bought this home because I was in the right place at the right time in Silicon Valley, and this was a gift to my family when we moved out here. But then I came off payroll in 1999. Now I'm like everybody else. The people from Humanities Team. So there's Tom, Juicy, Jim, Ross. So all of you, Carissa. Yeah, can you all put your hands up? So thank you. So these are all people here that are part of Humanities Team. Now you all maybe are subscribers, members too. All of the people here, we left, great stuff to do what we're doing. We're a 501c3 nonprofit, and this is global. The mission is global. So, and it's huge. And when I was in Silicon Valley in '99, I looked out my window and we didn't have the level of extreme weather and so on that we have today. But I looked out my window and I said, what am I doing playing a kid's game? Starting and growing companies. I grew two. Because I was in the right place at the right time. But with what's going on in the world, starting companies and growing them to umpteen $1 million, really? At the end of my life with what's going on the planet now? So here's the thing, is the good news is that conscious living is getting lots of attention now on a personal level. This notion, as we know, more open-hearted, right? We see an aspect of ourselves in each other. In the earth, it's no longer a refrigerator or warehouse. It's sacred. It has a soul, right? It's our planet. It's the planet that our kids are going to grow up on, right? So we become more patient. We can be more calm, like in the midst of a storm. These are all benefits that come back to us when we live consciously. Most of the programs today, almost all of them, are emphasizing the personal benefits now. There is no press that is of any consequence, of any size, that's reporting the other massive thing about conscious living, which is that when we walk through that door and we start seeing this sacred in everything and in ourselves, we steward the planet and each other, right? It's a completely different world. It's the remedy that's right here, right now. that solves all of this, the isolation, the fatigue, the sense of not living into my deeper values, the anxiety that can go to depression, all of that melts away. The global warming, extreme weather, war, blue state, red state. We don't do any of that anymore, right? When we're conscious, I mean, the Martin Luther King thing, darkness doesn't heal darkness. Only light does that. We all have our own way of doing that. So humanities team is supporting us. It's an inside out job, right? Of us on our conscious journey. But the huge thing, make conscious living pervasive worldwide by 2040. It's like, this is important now. This is urgent. It's more than the personal benefit. It's the growing into our bigger self. And really, and we can't do everything, right? But we can do something. And in our daily practice, we're called to what that thing is. Mine was humanities team. You each, the beautiful stories here, these other entrepreneurs that have come up. We're all called to something. And we go to that something. And we're a great steward then of each other and the planet. So we're fundraising here tonight for Juicy, and hope everybody is generous. Humanities team is doing the same thing. We're funding to just go big. I mean, really big. Because the press is going to cover this. Because it's covering now the voluntary human extinction movement. You maybe read about it, right, out of Oregon. They're saying it's too late, ship's going down, let's not have any more kids. We're like, please, let's put the spotlight over here. We have a very hopeful story. Like, we're already well on our way. We're going to get there. So let's put some attention here. That's what we're focused on now. So, and thank you all I know you all are activists. That's why you're here tonight. Yeah, and thank you for the good work you're doing.
And I'm not going to spoil a part of the talk later tonight, but there's a lot more of us than you think that there are. We just don't know about it yet. Next up, I want to bring up Kairos, because we're talking about life and regeneration and all these things, but deeply in our culture and society, there's a fundamental issue around healthy relationship with death. And our brother here is a chaplain and helps usher people to the other side. And so I'd love for you to share a bit about your work and how that fits into this beautiful right relationship with life.
Thank you, Juicy.
I'm
I'm honored to be here tonight. I'm honored to have Juicy as a friend. And I also am a Tom. And I chose Kairos because it means the present moment, more specifically the opportunity in the present moment. And that's what I want to talk to you about tonight, is the opportunity in this present moment. And if you notice, there's a slideshow going. These are shots I took on my phone, various places. The white building you see is the mausoleum at Crown Hill Mortuary down in Lakewood. And a funeral I went to and some other crazy stuff I don't remember. I've been, since a child, fascinated with death. I blame Jacques Cousteau and this show he put on about the Pacific salmon. And I'm going to cry, and I'm not going to apologize for it, because emotion is our path forward. If we are going to make the change that needs to happen, it has to happen in our hearts first. And I grew up in a house in a culture that was totally in the mind. The masculine has taken over our country. It's the negative, what we see now. It's been very positive in the past, this legacy of Western civilization, dominated by the mind, logic. Let's control it, let's package it, let's use it for our own benefit. Let's absorb, let's extract. And it's killing us. And it's robbing our children of the future. And I know I'm preaching to the choir here, but the way forward to get out of our heads, to leave the story behind, to get free of our cell phones and our computer screens, is to feel the emotion. And that's the invitation that I want to offer you tonight. How do you start? Where do you start? Where do you encourage your friends and your family to start? Where do we begin this transformation, this revolution that begins within our souls? It begins with acknowledging the fact that you're going to die. I'm going to die. Everyone you love is going to die. Every tree, every plant, every animal is going to die. And it's not a bad thing. If we accept our temporariness, I can't say it. No, I'm trying to say. As the Buddhists would say, our impermanence. Then what effect does that have on us? It makes us cherish the moment. It makes us let go of the things that don't matter. Don't sweat the small stuff, and it's all small stuff. It makes us reach out to the ones beside us and near us and say, thank you. I love you. Forgive me. I forgive you. Thank you. I love you. Forgive me. I forgive you. Death in our culture is resisted. It's put away. It's in denial. We don't even say the word die or death or dead. What we say is passed away. As if someone unexpectedly expelled gas somewhere that was inappropriate. And I feel like I'm giving a little bit of a fart bomb right here in the middle of this beautiful experience. But I would invite us to settle down into that. Feel the hands that you have. Feel the life in your blood. Take a deep breath. And exhale. That's life right there. And when we join our voices together, when we sing the same song, when we speak together, when we listen with our hearts, that is how we change things. I met a new friend tonight, and she was with a friend this morning till 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning at a bedside holding them. And then by sunrise, they were gone. I received the news of a new patient this morning, and before I could get to him, he was already gone. He had spent his life avoiding all of this that we're all here for. And he died with an oxycodone with a beer chaser. And that's how he made his exit. And that's not how we're to do this. How much more time can I have, Juicy? I'm kind of mad at him because you gave me 5 minutes to talk about 20 years of experience in this trade. So I have a surrogate here, this book by Stephen Jenkinson. It's called Die Wise. That's not a German, dice boat or whatever. Die Wise. And it's a manifesto for sanity and soul. I want you to buy this book, every one of us. It's only $15 on Amazon. It's paperback. Put it on your bookshelf because this is what it'll show you. Death should be at the center of the page, and we need to look it square in the eye and all of its painful beauty. Get out of denial and get into our hearts. Dying well, Jenkinson writes, pass this around if you would. I want you to hold it and see it. It's a right and it's a responsibility of everyone. It's not a lifestyle option. It's a moral, political, and spiritual obligation each person owes their ancestors and their heirs. Die Wise dreams such a dream and plots such an uprising. How we die, how we care for the dying people, and how we carry our own dead. This work makes our capacity for village making mindful, or it breaks it. So it begins with contemplating your own mortality. How do you do that? I don't want you to be morbid. I want you to celebrate. This is going to sound really weird. But my happiest days, the days I feel the most joyful, are when I've held someone's hands, when I've been there as they've died. Because I'm like the character played by Jimon Hansu at the end of Gladiator, when he says to Maximus as he's burying the little idols in the middle of the Colosseum, he says, now we are free. And we will be together, but not now. Not now. So spend time with the dying. They're all around us. They are your mothers, your fathers, your grandfathers, your grandmothers, your neighbors, your loved ones, your friends. Go to them wherever they are, especially the elderly who live isolated. lonely lives, locked away like human storage containers where we can't see them. And all they live for is meal to meal, waiting for someone. The most painful note I ever got was from a lady who used to be a star reporter down in Denver back in the 30s and 40s. She wrote on her personal stationery, she said, "You have no idea how lonely it can be. And if you spend time with them, I guarantee you, you will love your life the more. You will love your friends, your children, your lovers, and you will have no enemies." And that will be the revolution. That will be the beginning of it. And that will be where we begin to turn the tide, looking inward and becoming grateful for this one precious life that we have. And so I leave you with the quote by Mary Oliver. It said, "How will you live this one wild, precious life?" And that's all I have to say about that. Now I'm going to talk about Juicy. No.
No, I'm trying. You
Yes.
can't do this to me right now.
So you talked about the hierarchy of needs. I'm so glad you pointed out that actualization is not the pinnacle. And just a note about Maslow, he said only 1% of people get there. And I believe that that percentage is higher in this room because you're here. But Actualize is the path forward. It's the network. It's the net that's going to draw everyone in. Those who have ears to hear, let them hear. And you've built it. And we're going to get to that place of self-transcendence. And I know that there's going to be an opportunity tonight for us to invest in this platform. And I look at these as like golden tickets to Willy Wonka's chocolate factory, right? And each of us is going to have a chance to buy them tonight. And you can do whatever you want with them. You can hold on to them as an investment. They're going to be worth something. But you can also do what I'm going to do. You can give them to a friend who is doing something amazing, who is another revolutionary, another pioneer, another actualizer. I know about 5 here in the Boulder area who are doing amazing things. So I would encourage you tonight, especially tonight, to take advantage of this opportunity to be part of this movement. And it's all one. We're all one. And thank you for leading us there. Thank you, Kairos.
Beautiful. All right. All right. From death and the deep emotions that come with that and the connection that comes with that to the life of dance and play and connection and sense of belonging that I know that I found at the Ministry of Movements here in Boulder, Colorado, and have seen an explosion and proliferation of the ecstatic dance movement to really bring people into more joyful, connective space. And I just want to highlight this community here, Justin Smith, who's been holding it down at the Riverside even through COVID since just 3-4 years now, and has brought so many people in the community together. So Justin, I'd love for you to share a little bit about the ministry and your work.
Thank you. I'd like to start by just expressing my extreme gratitude for the opportunity to be here, just for the platform. And as I drove over here, I thought into what was the real reason why I feel so compelled to leave one of my favorite things in the world, which is a night home with my son, to be here tonight. And it's not really to promote the Ministry of Movement. I'm here because of Padme and Tom. But I will share for those, especially who are new to the idea of the type of dance practice that the Ministry of Movement does and why it's there. The idea for the ministry essentially came from just a curiosity that I had. Could I help create a place where people can come and move and dance in a way that they feel free and inspired and safe? Now, that's not a new idea. There are 3 people here who do that regularly. Ava, Danny, Filana, who promote these types of movement spaces in our community. I see them as an essential service, which is why we actually began during the pandemic. And I was also intrigued with the idea, could that also be a place where people can come and infuse their movement with their prayers? And just like nobody's going to tell you how to dance and move, because only you can do that the way you do it, Nobody's going to tell you how to pray or what your connection with God or spirit is going to be like. In fact, where I'm coming from, it's unique. Both are unique. So I can't tell you really how spirit's going to show up in your life, but I can create a space where you can come and regularly and maybe invite that in on a regular basis with your community. And that's more or less what we do. And Padme and Juicy have been a part of my ministry of movement journey really since the very beginnings almost. We started in June 2020, and by the end of that year, Padme and Tom were both there in full force, and they both showed up in the way that, you know, if you are a community-oriented person, you know the type of people that you want to attract into your community. Type of people who show up with devotion. The type of people show up with the integrity. When they say they're going to do something, you know they're going to at least give it their very best. They're going to show up. And that's why I showed up tonight. Because Tom and Padme have showed up for me and our greater community consistently the entire time I've known them. Tom built an app platform that was the way that our community started, because during the pandemic, it didn't feel safe to be organizing and posting about people actually getting together in real life. It didn't feel safe to me. But we had a platform where not only we could share the events, but we could organize our team. We could sell tickets. We could do every bit of the operation. We could do our financial reconciliations, our reports, all of it, right there in the app. And that platform became integral in the growth of our community. And consistently, through the years, I've developed, particularly with Tom, in regards to the app, if there was ever an issue where I needed support of any kind, could be personal, but it could be tech support, he was always, always there, 100%. Sometimes I felt like he was reading my texts before I'd finished them. And always willing to, whatever issue, I've never had an issue that Tom wasn't on. And I've never had an issue where I didn't feel 100% supported. And aside from tech support, both Tom and Padme have showed up consistently for our community, just being there, time, dancing on the floor, dancing with me personally, being vulnerable, sharing their music, sharing their hearts. And so I'm here because I believe in these two men. And if you've been around the block in conscious communities and startups, you probably understand that you're investing in the people. The ideas are always good, almost always good. But what I'm investing in is the people. I'm here to support these guys because they have shown me through their example over the years that they are truly a high tide raises all ships mindset. And they've always been open to communicating with me, addressing concerns. And I've seen them both grow and continue to grow. And so I want to get behind that. And I encourage you too, to get behind that. And I'll leave you with this, because I just had a friend, since I am a minister, and I have friends who ask me my thoughts on spiritual things, and she said, "Do you believe in angels?" And I said, "Well, yeah, I happen to have a tattoo of angels on my back." And you know what else I believe in? I believe in angel donors. And I believe in the power of both to transform. And if that is within your means, I encourage you to stretch and invest, because just like on the dance floor, this is no time to hold back. It is no time to hold back. And lastly, if dancing, and I don't mean just like dancing, shaking, or dancing with your drink without spilling. I mean dancing with wild abandon, like you fucking mean it, is not a part of your regular life. I encourage you to get there, because that, from what I've seen, that in the no talking dance space is the juice that's going to help fuel this change. Thank you so much for the time.
All right. Another community leader in the music and community space. I actually just had to throw a picture of the sand volleyball because it's more than just music. You bring people together in so many beautiful ways. And it has brought me so much aliveness and juice in these last couple of years that have been so challenging in my life. Especially the Sunday volleyball. It's just been like a renewing of my soul.
It's the best.
It really is.
Let's see. Oh. Hello, everyone. Whoa. You can hear me? Okay, good. My name is Allie Constein, and I'm the founder of Conscious Roots Presents. Conscious Roots co-creates evenings of music and connection in Boulder with artists who share music with a conscious message to uplift our community and the world as a whole. Each event aims to be a place where we can connect, let go, relish in the magic, and leave nourished and inspired. Through them, I aim to create a more conscious and compassionate world. Conscious Roots music is characterized by heartfelt messages promoting love, unity, environmental reverence, and a profound understanding of the human experience. It can offer solace and insight into the complexities of life, fostering a deeper connection with ourselves, each other, and the world around us. It need not have lyrics to fill us with these feelings. Rooted in positivity, it spreads optimism and inspiration and encourages us to embrace harmony and compassion. My experience in the music industry runs deep. I moved to Boulder over 20 years ago with the intention to work in this realm, knowing of the rich love of music that exists in this very special part of the world. I come from a background in producing large-scale events, was one of the producers of the Music, Yoga, and Activism Festival known as Arise from 2013 to 2019 with many of the lovely people here, and currently co-produce Rise and Vibes, a reggae and conscious roots music festival south of Durango at the Tico Time River Resort, which is featuring an ecstatic dance with Rhythm Sanctuary this year, which is really exciting. I'm also the talent buyer for Unison Festival, an ecstatic dance, electronic, and conscious music festival also at the same epic venue. While I love creating large, vibey containers for us to let go into and uplift within, when the pandemic hit, I found a deep love for intimate events. I met much of my current community at smaller gatherings like this one, and felt called to also create moments like this. I was drawn to the idea that over music, dancing, and feasting, we could meet and deepen our connections with like-minded people and simultaneously relish and celebrate in potent musical moments together. I reconnected with Juicy at this time and became incredibly grateful for the opportunity to use a ticketing and social platform that was expressly meant to support and promote events in Boulder. Instead of getting lost in the sea of Eventbrite, I could easily reach the community I was hoping to draw together. Over the years, Juicy has been a wonderful partner of Conscious Roots. He is so compassionate, thoughtful, and giving, and exceptionally ready to serve community. He's been greatly receptive to feedback to make the apps better and easier to use, and readily offers support, which I value deeply. The app has so many features that inspire connection, and I view him as a pioneer in this field. It's wonderful to see how our community has embraced One Boulder and now Actualize, and how the platform has blossomed. Congratulations. You're so
I don't
cute.
think that
I'm not.
okay.
I'm currently using Actualize to sell tickets to 8 different events, mostly of which you can find on the poster board that you'll see at the entrance. As our conscious community grows, so does Conscious Roots in our events. Over the next week, we are hosting our 2 biggest events yet at the Fox Theater. This Wednesday, we have David Satori of Beats Antique and Dirtwire, who is sitting right here, and the Psychedelic Hoedown, featuring amazing Colorado artists, including Jeff Franca of Thievery Corporation, Borum Lee of Pretty Lights and Break Science, local favorite Tom LaFond, and also a visiting artist, Maze Tar of Balkan Bump. On May 1st, we have Yaima with with openers Danny B. and Blue Murray, and Danny's also here, co-founders of Boulder Ecstatic Dance, who are sharing a special Yaima-inspired back-to-back DJ set. And my favorites, Misty Vale and Lulla High, featuring Noel Kalajian. Both events are co-promoted by Boulder Ecstatic Dance, who also use Actualize for their weekly Sunday events, as you already know. And $1 from every ticket sold for the Yaima show goes to Joy's Kitchen. So we're all working together. We also have a very special moment coming up with Snow Raven on April 30th at Ceremonia in Arvada, where she will share her Embodying Nature workshop to connect us in profound and transformative ways with the natural world, as we learn to embody animal and birds through movement and sounds. The evening will also feature an enlivening and nourishing dinner provided by local chef Angelina Liguri, and a Q&A to pique our curiosity and allow us to deepen uniquely with Snow Raven. We will then relish in connection and relaxation in the retreat of Ceremonia, which features a cold plunge, a sauna, a pool, and hot tubs. You can find all of these events and more on our Instagram, Facebook, and Telegram under Conscious Roots Presents, or feel free to come chat with me. Inclusivity is one of Conscious Roots' core values, as we want everyone to feel welcome to participate in our events and welcomed into a community that fully sees you for all of the beauty you possess. Many of us have issues with not feeling accepted, invited in, or enough. Conscious Roots aims to create moments for all to feel comfortable and joyous, and to deeply weave a tapestry of connection. I love how I have found a partner in Actualize. Their mission to help our community live a more joyful and connected life deeply resonates with my own. I adore creating sweet containers for our community to unwind and become uplifted within, bringing people together and raising our collective consciousness through exposure to high vibration music and one another. I hope to see all of you at a future Conscious Roots event. Thank you so much, Juicy and Padme, and for everything you are doing through Actualize Earth. Thank you. Mike.
Cool. Cool. Well, we got a couple more community talks before we're going to take a short break and come back to the second half of our evening. But next brother I want to welcome up is Alec, and he's doing some really beautiful work in the men's group space, which so deeply needed. I'd love for you to share just a little bit about it.
Thank you. Yeah. Evening, everybody. We could all just close down our eyes, take a couple breaths together. Let's breathe first one for ourselves. Keep going. Let them get heavy. Accept it. Let it in. Breathe one for those around you. And breathe one for those who came before. Yeah. With those eyes staying closed, recall your mother's face, your father's face, grandparents, maybe even. We were lucky enough, maybe even the great grandparents, right? traveling that road to those ancestors before the time that we can recollect. Allow yourself to paint their vividness, their beauty in your eyes. Allow a smile to break if that's what happens. But see them dancing wildly, right? Tuned to the earth, living well. For a moment, gaze upon the fire in the center of them that they're all coming to with all of the everything that they may carry. Allow yourself to sit there by that fire with them here for a moment. Look over to the old auntie, the old grandma. Give them a smile, a smirk, a thank you. Go ahead and start breathing yourself back when it feels good for you. Yeah. And so for me, there's an ancestral fire that I was born without. A lot of us were, and a lot of us are here working our way back, right? And for me, that fire, and I didn't know it for so long, I thought it was so outside of self in service and in creation and the doing, and and it wasn't until those moments of the rock bottom, the 6-7 years ago when I transitioned around here, that began like remembering that it was actually just like right in here, this zone 0, as we call it in permaculture. We can manicure our space and we can really clean it up and make it beautiful, but until we really dive into that zone 0 and that inner landscape, let's just say maybe the rest is stuff, And so that entered me into this realm 5 years ago. Not with Primal Brotherhood. Again, I'm only 6 years old in Boulder. But yeah, needed something, and I've been working with earth and woman and child and for a long time, and it was like, what is it that I am needing? And as a young man, not raised by father, uncle, grandfather, that like orphan light goes off, and it's like, I need to rebuild this fire, and I need to call in my brothers and my uncles and my fathers, because as we all know, and Carlos told us, the men and the trauma that we're inflicting to the woman, to the child, to the earth is sort of the catalyst, a lot of that confusion. And so, I put myself in uncomfortable spaces with men that I didn't know from diverse walks of life, and sort of began shattering that concept for myself of self-actualization, and seeing a ceiling, and that I could only really push through with the stamina of this brother and the ability to hear his story and capture the essence of the beauty that you've walked with, so that I can meld it and mold it into mine as well. All of these, I couldn't fathom how many stories my soul was birthed into this world having forgotten. So as I walk back this path of remembrance in that search of our way home, I find myself as a man needing to really position myself before other brothers and learn to fully accept their beauty, so that I can even begin to accept mine, right? And begin to really erase that facade of competition and all of the things that we are, yes, unfortunately brought into this world and asked to abide by and go along with. Enter Sacred Sons for myself, enter Primal Brotherhood for Boulder County, ultimately an integrative approach to masculine alchemy, full open door policy, 52 weeks a year, twice a week. We take in any and every man who's willing to walk through the door. no matter how deep the addiction, no matter how lost, no how not willing to share. The door's open. It's ultimately a nonprofit because it's never made a penny, so doesn't have the status, but is ultimately a nonprofit because it just isn't geared that way. We just pay our space holders, and and that's and not our facilitators, but just meaning like Sadhana and Valley Soul or the Corner Beat down in Denver or whatever the case may be. So yeah, if you're a man and you're interested in deepening and strengthening male connections, this is a place. And if you're a feminine who knows men, this is also a place to send men within your community to, just to feel the power of crying before one another and in the arms of the other. God bless Carlos for just bringing us to that deep emotion so quick. And just holding my grandmother's hand, who is why I ended up in this area, because she was here dying in 2015, and come and spend a month watching what, with who would have known, like, is the strongest thing in the world to do, is to release life. The power I see. So anyway, that's a tangent. Grandma Regina Ronan, thank you. And thank you, my brother. Thank you. Yeah.
All right. I think we're to the point in the evening where we can actually open this up as well. So, all right. While I'm opening this up, let's do multitasking. And I want to bring up David Satori, who's been mentioned a few times this evening. Cool. Thank you for the help. Cool. Here you go, David.
Thank you.
Yep. And then you want me to start with the video?
Yeah, I'll give a little say what it's about.
Cool.
Thank you, Juicy, for doing this one more time. Thank you, man. Yeah,
I got it.
Okay. So some of you may know me as a musician, and I've been lucky to be co-founder of the band Beats Antique and Dirtwire, and a touring musician for over 20 years. So the past 2.5 years since COVID, I've taken a break from the road, from touring, and I've moved to Boulder. I walked here, so I feel really lucky to be in this neighborhood. And I've turned my attention to building a nonprofit, and this nonprofit is called Sunrise Studios Collective, and it's got 8 studios that have already formed over the past 2.5 years. 2 in Kenya in the biggest refugee camp called Kakuma Refugee Camp, full solar powered, brick to mortar community centers that we've built. 1 outside Nairobi, 1 in Uganda, 1 on Pine Ridge Reservation with Kili radio station, 2 in Brazil with the Hunikun, and another record label that we're supporting down there, and 1 in Nicaragua. And we're just getting going. And so we have a little video we want to share that will explain more about what Sunrise does. And then
around the globe, there is much talent, passion, and wisdom being shared through songs and other creative expressions that are often unheard by the rest of the world. The Sunrise Studios Collective was created to help amplify these voices by providing access to equipment and professional training to share their talents and unique perspectives. We help orchestrate exchanges through global music collaboration. We offer equipment to communities seeking to digitally preserve their ancestral practices while helping to bridge generational knowledge. And we support the cultural preservation of indigenous instruments and musical traditions. We do this by fundraising to offer grants for grassroots, community-led recording studios and media projects around the world. We offer the support that emerging creative endeavors need to flourish. The Sunrise Studios Collective provides free online trainings in professional production skills, helping to create economic opportunities. We provide access to global distribution channels and a networking platform to allow for cross-cultural collaboration. We facilitate an exchange of knowledge about regenerative and resilient living practices, such as permaculture, agroforestry, and renewable energy. We believe music and creative expression expression are a means to make the world a better place. There are many ways for individuals, organizations, or companies to be a part of the Sunrise Studios Collective. Become a member, a mentor, partner, sponsor, or donor today. Learn more and join in on the fun at sunrisestudios.org.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, so it's just getting going, and we are about to launch our first collaborative song with all the studios. It's about water, and we're looking for a water NGO to like sort of get behind it to amplify the message, and looking to companies like Actualize Earth and like networks like that to be part of, to just get the word out and create more of this network. And Juicy was grateful enough to just already do a consulting call on how we could think about a mapping system and different social networks we could do to create basically profiles for each studio and how they can start communicating and uplifting each other. So yeah, if you guys are interested or have any ideas, get in touch with me. I got some cards and stuff, and excited to get Sunrise on Actualize Earth and support you guys. And thank you for the opportunity.
David. Thank you, brother. Yeah. Beautiful. Well, next up I had Danny. I said had because honestly, I love you, Danny. And you look at this man and the events that he's created over the last number of months. He is such a glue and a fabric in this community of bringing people together. I don't think that I would have continued on this journey that I am now without him. So I hold him in very high regard. And also, we're getting a little tight on time. I'm living up to the juicy quality of life. So I just want to highlight the Boulder Ecstatic Dance, all the amazing events that Danny and Filana and Bloom are doing, especially in partnership with Allie. There's so much good events bringing people together. And the last thing I just want to highlight about Danny is his breath work, which has been incredibly transformational for me. And this is another one of the tools in the tool belts that, again, many people just don't even know about. There's so many things. There's so many things to help us, to support us. Breathwork is a very potent one. So if you ever get a chance, I highly recommend checking out Danny's breathwork events. I just was able to move some fear that I've been carrying for about 7 years because of the support in the space that he had helped cultivate. And I want to bring up Ava. Okay. Another one of the pillars in our community. She's been holding down Rhythm Sanctuary among many things for 18 years?
16 years.
16 years.
In the middle of that.
And part of that, and this is part of the thing with community, I don't want to step on your feet too much here, but when you bring people together, people are people, and they have people problems and things come up. And Ava has been an amazing pillar and resource in the community to support us in learning to work through these types of issues in a loving, caring, compassionate way. So she is here to share about unitive justice and justice in our community.
Wow, thank you. Everything's so connected, and I'm just feeling so proud to be part of this community and so grateful. And I wrote a speech because if you know me, I am a off-the-cuff kind of girl, but it's an important topic. And essentially through the Rhythm Sanctuary community, because I'm a dancer and I love music first, and I started bringing people together through that modality. And 16 years later, we have like 250 people who show up and have been a part of the community for such a long time. So conflict arises, things arise. So I'm grateful to have the opportunity to speak a little about the work I do in community conflict resolution and justice. It's called Unitive Justice, and it is rooted in the works of my mentor, Sylvia Clute, an experienced trial attorney. I want to start by sharing a vision of justice that reaches beyond the boundaries of our current judicial systems, a justice deeply rooted in unity and love, justice that starts with each individual. This justice is not focused on retribution, revenge, punishment, or casting judgment. Rather, it's about recognizing our shared humanity. I'm going to cry because it's big. It's connected to everything. and using that as a foundation for compassion, understanding, and regeneration of all relations, even those beyond our human relations, to that of the living systems and creatures that we share this planet with. Conflicts are inevitable in our diverse communities and global society, yet even in the most egregious cases, they don't necessarily require punitive responses or hierarchical judgments, banishment, or cancellation. Instead, we can view conflict as the opportunity to approach these moments with curiosity, humility, and a desire for understanding the underlying causes. We must disrupt the pattern of dysfunction and practice a new way forward. This involves engaging in reflective listening, truly hearing one another, understanding different perspectives, and validating each other's feelings, even when we disagree. When we prioritize compassion and understanding, personality takes a back seat and our souls show us the way forward. Nature itself teaches us that diversity is absolutely essential and demonstrates justice through intrinsic order and balance. Nature teaches us trust and faith. This natural law shows us that systems can function harmoniously with elements supporting and sustaining each other in self-regulating balance. This is a model that we can aspire to in our human relations. I have fostered a community, ecstatic dance, for 16 years, and I've seen firsthand how damaging conflicts can become, especially when legal measures like restraining orders and such are involved. Once such measures are in place, empathy and compassion can seem nearly unreachable. Yet what if we viewed all conflict, aside from physical harm, as something that is meant for us and not that is happening to us? What if we saw it as fuel to help us grow and evolve into our highest selves? Justice starts with each individual. It begins with forming our own values and conducting deep self-inquiry into our attitudes, behaviors, and beliefs. By understanding ourselves better, we begin to interact with others and mothers more effectively, compassionately, and joyously. When we know ourselves, trust and faith create a field for better relating. These communities we are building here now are precious, like chosen families. I feel it is our responsibility to respect, honor, and protect them. We can choose to learn and grow from our conflicts rather than defaulting to blame and disparagement of others. In these times, we are called upon to transform our approaches to conflict, seeing them for what they are, profound opportunities for personal and collective growth. Let's set in motion a world where our first impulse is to understand rather than to judge, to connect rather than correct, and to restore and heal rather than to divide and punish. This new world requires new perspectives that we can get through these apps and these ways of connecting with each other, and new insights that seek understanding first through the lens of compassion. Let's remember that most likely hurtful words and harmful actions are the product of complex personal and societal dynamics. We are, after all, companions of destiny, intertwined in this journey of life, sharing the same world and the same future. Our actions and decisions shape not only our own paths, but also affect those around us and those who will come after us. We are in this together, duty bound by our collective fate to support, learn from, teach, and ultimately thrive together. As we grow into these times upon us, let us choose to engage with each other in a spirit of love and renewal. Let us build communities like this, where justice serves as a tool for unity and healing, where every individual feels valued and heard, even celebrated for their unique contributions to our shared experiences. Let's commit to being agents of this transformative reframing of justice and conflict in our homes, our workplaces, and communities. If we all begin in our very own hearts and minds, it should be a pretty easy job.
Mike?
Oh, yeah. Excuse me. I didn't have a pocket. There we go.
Beautiful.
Okay.
So my hope in this and highlighting these community leaders is to really just land that we're living it. It's here. The codes in different ways are here. And it's on us in community to come together to actualize these dreams together, because none of us can do it alone. The rising tide lifts all ships. We're in it together, forever bound. I think Duncan will correct me here if I'm wrong, but I want to say Ben Franklin. Assuredly, we shall all hang together, or we will all hang separately. And this is where we're at. This is where we're at in our culture and society. And I'm going to go into a deeper exploration of this and talking about evolution here in a moment. But we've also been very static here. So I wanted to give about a 10-minute intermission before coming back, have a little bit of food, have a little bit of water, go to the bathroom, come back. We're going to have Lily Fang come back and bring the energy back into the room, into the space, land it, ground it, and bring some beautiful messages through, I'm sure, because she always does every time I've seen her, in ways to inspire, uplift, and transform. So please, it's not something to miss. And feel free to take a little bit of time and get in your body, feel it, and come back in 10 minutes.
Linear time. Linear time is upon us. Let us join.
We invite the masculine.
We invite some structure.
Yes.
Containerize.
Oh, it's going to be the feminine bringing
Or they will.
And integrated flow and structure. Flow and structure. Or wherever you're at is perfect. Sing them in. Whoa, like a conjuring?
Yes.
Bring them closer. Don't you want to be by the heart?
Yes.
We are the heart. Some light in the dark.
You messed them out.
No, no missing. Wait a second.
Probably seats for everybody. Yeah, come.
They're comfy and plastic.
That's the thing.
Yay. I like that you called me Fang, which I've been feeling lately. Like just one. And it's blunt. Just one and it's blunt.
All right. All right, well, we're going to get started with the second half of the evening, and we're going to start with no later ado. Lily Fang's
teeth.
I caught up.
Flower tooth.
I caught up with my Z's.
Thank you, Juicy.
Yeah, you bet.
Thank you, all of you. You use us. This has been incredibly moving and like really quite surprisingly nourishing. I was supposed to head out on a flight for tour. Juicy asked, "Hey, can we pop in? Can we do this?" And I'm very grateful for the quality of nourishment that inspiration is. I'm really fascinated with this. I'm fascinated how that moves in each our systems. I'll speak quickly about a project that's in incubation for me. It's called the Phoenix Studies, and it's essentially it's being reverse engineered right now. We are all actively in our own Phoenix study. I believe we cycle and die many, many times, and not believe, it's a fact, right? This cyclical existence and our ideally more intimate relationship with our death and our small deaths, so that we can meet the larger one in a way that's inspired, because then in each moment we live life fuller. And I really was feeling deeply and like having to hold back my tears like this when Kairos was sharing. When I couldn't tour and share music around the world during COVID, I have a background in nursing, and I was bedside in hospice and death douling with many, many individuals, and I shared in that sentiment that there was a fascinating and palpable alchemy process when I'd hold hands with someone in transition that felt almost like I had to confront the like little texture of guilt that would happen to leave and go into my day with like a fucking a little fucking come on, life, it's raw, and there was something in the step, a pep, if you will, upon just being so intimate with this fragility of life and the courageous journey into unknown. And so in each moment, each day, we go courageously into the unknown, ideally, and support each other and learn about each other's processes with that unknown. And sometimes it kicks your ass and you pull yourself up from the fire and over. This is the Phoenix study. I believe everyone's had at least one physical, emotional, spiritual. I've had many near-death processes that bring you back. Like, with a few more feathers, with a little more like bird's eye view. And I'm curious about what that is. What is that quality that has the human keep going? Like, what is that? You reinvent and you renew. And there's this Ouroboros quality, this dragon. Something popped up on my phone today about the year of the dragon, right? We're in now. And inherently beings born in this time have a quality of courage. And step aside linear time, we can all be born in every moment, right? So inviting the courage, the ability to take action despite fear. That's all courage is. And, really touch the dragon. I no longer want to chase it. I had many years of that. And I want to get close. And as I touch the spine of the dragon, I realize it might be time to balance out the scales. Hedonic treadmill thread still weaving us slightly through the veils. We amplify the activism. I call that active vision. We could catalyze the soul and then pass the rhythm. We pray the past forgiven. We're breaking classes, prisms, building mosaic hope castles out of the broken glass. This is the stained glass that we've all been given. Love over hate, and over fear. Scissors out, clip the ribbon because it's near. Front of house is open, time to see dearly. No fear, we collecting puzzle pieces while we try to love each other dearly. Hear he who speaks well of compassion. Line up our hearts and our soul with our actions. I pray for a little peace. You're just the size of the jigsaw we've been looking for. Because from the ancient bones of creation, when she sings to the mountains, our world can become one nation. We can balance this equation. It's a proclamation, so you don't get her mistaken. She is bringer of the fire, here to torch on down the kingdom. Dismantle Babylon, compassion pointed at the kingpin. Here to speak up for the ones who have not found their voice, violated people who've been frozen up inside a choice, to rise within a system that has no intent to listen unless you're part of the machine with your mouth wrapped around the piston. I've been told to release my anger. I've been told to diffuse my spark, to act more like a lady, never bite and never bark. But the time is steady ticking and the sky is getting dark. So rally up, my soldiers. This is a battle of the heart. Yes. It's a battle of the heart, and I know yours is knocking at your rib cage again. The doors are opening and they're sending us in. There's soul work to do on this here plane. There's whole hurt for you. Do not dismiss this pain. Discomfort is where the neurons of our being bow down. Discomfort is where I've learned how to carve my own crown. It takes raw flesh and truth, old soul and tooth. And I know I got something, so we step into the proof. Let us all decide. Are we going to take this ride? We might have everything we need. We might have wisdom on our side, because grandmother's been talking, but we had wax in all our ears. We were dancing with our demons, so entranced by fancy fears. Destiny is waiting. She's knocking at your back. You've got Atlas on your shoulders, and your spine will never crack. And some days I'm like, I haven't really done much in this 3D because the rat race is not my teacup. But as far as I'm concerned, the universe is mine. Call that my prenup. Ease up, baby. I got sunshine on my side. I ride. I see everything inside of you. Your aura blue, the stars so true when we align. But why are we so mortal to cast it all aside, to act like we can't feel this interconnectedness, like there's something more important? When your spark, it burns so brightly, it meets mine, and then we're torching. I'll ride with you through darkness. I will dance the days of doom. To help reclaim foundation, you're the door and I'm the room. So let's build something wild. Let's wake up while we're young. Baby, I might have fire and some poison on my tongue. But the thing about the poison is it's medicine. When you let it in, it's betterment. And I pray we can use this shadow, because the shadow is a veteran, teaching us down the grief and the soil, Hold on for the moments, not trouble, not toil. All of this rage, let your blood boil. And remember, I don't know, it's about an hour past the age of Aquarius. And I know right now the fears are very various, but we must muster up the strength to grow. And from the bottom of our roots, we could soak up the nutrients slow until the ink of the blueprints glow. And we redefine a paradigm where we can all go. We stop dividing hoods, because when the winds of change blow, it will be a tornado. They've been whispering change for far too long. We're all here to improve, right? Walk in a few pairs of shoes, right? Learn lessons about the soul. It doesn't break, it doesn't bruise, right? It may feel like it is, but similar to a bone, it just gets stronger. I feel like I've been hanging on a jungle gym, not sure if I can keep my grip any longer. So I'll drop. Trust that the net will appear. Our reflexes are on point. Y'all's are. So it's not the fall we should fear. You say your third eye is open. Yeah, why do I keep catching its tear? Here is where we stand up for what we mean by community. Here we stand up for some free speech and unity. Here we learn the language of each other's hearts until we speak it fluently. So may we speak this new fluently.
Yes.
Yeah. Lots of words. There was another piece that really wanted to happen, but just for balance, I don't know. I think that's plenty of time.
Come on now. I mean, if you got it, you got it.
It was in the thought when you asked about this evening. It was these two pieces were clear. So just to balance. It's a work in progress. Actually, hold on, that's a lot. Cerebral. We just traveled. Thank you for letting me almost cry my fucking eyes out here.
Oh.
Thank you.
It's perfect though because immediately, right, the mind is like, how are we being perceived? What level of vulnerable is safe? And this is the first part of a long writing thing that I'm doing called Adventures with Ego. And so yeah, it's just to speak to that element of ego that has its place in all these dealings, because half of inspiration and motivation and personality structures and that what's the top of the pyramid. I realized with the pyramid, I've been backwards. I think I've done the pyramid upside down my whole life. I'm like just figuring out rent money and like, oh gosh, I'm like humbled. So in some of that process of self-actualization, I've read all these like self-help books, right? And it was about on book number 30 that I was like, the problem in the process of calibrating or killing your ego is it might get appropriately defensive. Mine told me to speak slow. Mine told me I don't know all that I thought I did. And the matchup was like a grandmaster battling a little kid. But who is who? The thoughts turn blue when you deprive them of creative oxygen, and that's what ego did for me. She ran, she hid, she put all my good ideas I'd made in a box again. Now all the locks are tin, and they're quite easy to break. But the illusions are quite strong. You can't tell that the locks are fake. It's like a layer of nice icing covering a cardboard cake. So I approached her again like, yo, ego, what'll it take? What's going on? She's like, well, my feelings are hurt that you want me to go. I've known you forever, watched your personality grow. I'm the reason you're clever, why you can even rhyme in a flow. I'm the best of the best. Haven't you ever been to my show? I said, I already know. I'm the one on the bill. She's like, no, that's me. I'm why they're booking you still. I was like, well, I'm the one with the soul. She's like, yeah, you might be making them feel, but without me, you're like an onion with the layers all peeled. You think you're ready for that? I know you're a curious cat, but this world that you've chosen, it does not yet feel safe enough for a woman to get naked in, to bare her heart and soul uncommodified in sacred skin. So let me take you in. I'll help you fake the grin and let you know that I know the ice you skate is thin. I said, I don't want to fake a thing. There's no race to win, and I'm sick of comparing my character to other egos and the face that they're in. So we both sat for a moment in quiet, 2 parts to 1 car, uncertain where to drive it. Uncertain about deciding. See, I thought I was the pilot and ego was just riding, but I guess we're at a crossroads. Uncertain about dividing. See, ego wants to grab the fast lanes and I want the back roads. She wants to play the games and I want to find the cheat codes. Like up, A, B, pause, start, stop, down, while she's doink, collecting gold coins to melt them to a gold crown. If I were to comment on her technique, all she'd wear would be a cold frown. She's like, why do you have to look down? Act so high and mighty. I was like, I think you're too attached to shit, ego. I think you're holding on too tightly. She's like, truth is, yeah, I might be, but please stop trying to fight me. You've got eternity to be just sold. I mean, you visit that realm nightly. So might we just two-step through a tight weave of a web we both have spun? You can be player 2 if you let me be player 1. And that's not the end. Things have just begun. But yeah, adventures with ego that we're all on. Hopefully we use them well. Use them well. Yay. Oh, the word.
Amazing. Bringing it through. Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Mike.
You can have this.
I
want to keep
all right.
whispering
Well,
sweet nothing.
now that now that we got the mic from Lily, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Wow. And this is the beauty of art, when we can really tune in and to express ourselves, to inspire, to transform, to transmute. And part of, I know Lily, I've gotten to know her at least a little bit. One of the things that she even talks about with the Phoenix studies, it's about story. And so one of the things I want to really land before going into the pitch for Actualize of what we're doing is the story, the aspect of story that we tell ourselves, the story of our culture, the stories that have been passed on for generations and generations, for centuries and millennia. These stories shape our lives. The stories that we tell ourselves shape our lives. Oh, we're not good enough. We're not strong enough. We don't have the resources we need. These stories keep us trapped in our boxes. And I really want to land this because for me, again, with the ego, it's acknowledging who you are in your own journey, in your story, owning that, and also recognizing that you're part of something larger. That's the balance. Meeting in the heart, braided in the heart. And for me, I just have to share very briefly on my own story, my archetypal journey. My dad was a city manager. My mom's father, my grandpa, was a police chief of a Chicago suburb for nearly 25 years. I feel deeply in my story of being in public service, of being a leader in community and sharing. And I feel like I'm taking that to the next level with building it with technology and recognizing that technology isn't going to be the thing that saves us. It's these ecstatic dances. It's these nights where we get to experience each other's art. It's the times that we get to break bread over potlucks and share our stories with each other. To me, that feels like the glue. It's like in evolutionary biology, there's a term called horizontal gene transfer. And we know this with bacteria and viruses. It's really, they get introduced to an antibiotic, the bacteria will adapt, and it'll share its genes with the other bacteria to help it evolve. Well, if we're not sharing our codes with each other, if we're continuously going through these same karmic patterns and loops without actually being in connection and sharing our stories with each other, then we are just propagating and continuing these stories over and over without actually healing and moving to where we can be in our fullest expression. Because all of these stories are here to teach us, to show us the aspects of ourselves that we need to see. And so we can either learn from each other in that or create the environment for us to learn it in more likely a more challenging way. So that's on the individual side. But the collective side of what is so important in our story right now, in this time with where we're at, is the fact that we are growing into a planetary culture. Evolutionarily speaking, there's a term called endosymbiotic evolution. Endo is within, symbiosis is right relationship with. And we've seen this going from simple bacteria and viruses to single-cell organisms to multicellular organisms to hundreds of trillions of cells all working together for a common purpose. We're at this phase now where we have things like the internet, which you might liken to the central nervous system of our body, being able to connect all the different pieces across the whole. We have the circulatory system, the roads, the boats, the planes, the trains, everything that distributes things across the world. And it's on us now. We are conscious about this. It's on us now. We can either choose to work with that or ignore it. That's the choice that we're in collectively. And that's why I'm standing up here, why Padme is standing up here, why all of the people up here tonight are standing up and saying, this is why I'm here. Nothing can get in the way of that. Nothing can take that spark, that fire, that passion away. But you know what? That spark, that fire, when we come together, can be even bigger. And it generates an even larger field. It attracts people in. And it becomes its own magnetism. It becomes its own gravity. And that's what I feel like is so needed in the world right now, and why I'm standing up here in front of all of you in the vulnerable place that I am in life, with the level of confidence, knowing that, as Barbara Marx Hubbard would say, I have 14 billion years of evolution at my back. There's so many stories in our culture that say, oh, you run out of money, you're going to die. Oh, if you don't get your health insurance, what are you doing? Oh, you're not saving up for the 401k. Well, come on now, how are you going to retire? But what about right fucking now? Yes. Who's standing in here right now for what they're here to do, what they're passionate about? Each of us are our unique piece, that unique puzzle. And it takes time to figure that out. And it takes community to figure that out. Yes. When we come together, Alex Gray shares about the sacred mirrors, that we are all sacred mirrors for each other. And you know what? None of us are perfect. Your mirror isn't polished. It's got some good polish to it. Mine does too. Ava's does too. Many people in this room have a good polish to their mirror. Enough where if we can get enough people around us, we can actually start putting together that puzzle piece inside of our own self, the reflections that we see of who we really are. That's why I believe in community so strongly as a mechanism to support us in creating this planetary shift. But you know what? On the community side of things, a lot of people look out for those external connections in life and forget about the connection inside. So I kind of have to laugh at this, but after working on 3 platforms for over nearly 9 years and literally 7,000 to 8,000 hours of my life, putting that energy out, I come back in to the importance of well-being. My physical well-being, my mental well-being, my emotional well-being, my spiritual well-being, my occupational well-being, my financial well-being, my social well-being, and the environmental well-being. What are we tracking as a culture and society to know if we're doing good or not? Our GDP? Jesus Christ. Sad to say, though, I just learned from Brother Duncan over here that the age group of 30 and under in the United States, they just came out with a global happiness index. 30 years and under are 60th, like 63rd or something here. 63rd in the world as a developed country. And we have all of this stuff. We have all of this stuff. And I have to share a little bit of my own personal story because, when I was 12 years old, I had gotten to a point of thinking about suicide. Now, I don't need to go into context about it, and it's not because of my parents. I had very loving parents. I had a very loving environment. But you can't really shield your kid from the world. And I had a bully pick on me. And you know what? People talk about, Joseph Campbell in The Hero's Journey. That people go through the darkness of the dark of the journey to come out the other side and to share those gifts with the community. Well, to me, separation. I isolated myself. I didn't want anybody to connect with me. So I was for about 10 years just isolated. I ended up living in the middle of nowhere by myself in Wisconsin. And I had an experience that woke me up, and I'm like, no, I want community. I want a relationship. I don't even know what the hell that means. Most people don't. Community is a word that gets thrown out a lot. And there was something very important for me in that journey and why I'm standing here, because it has informed this work. And it also informed this work, building technology for marathons and large running events. I built the medical tracking system for the New York Marathon. The apps that I've built have been used by over 60 million people in literally every single country around the world and localized to 8 different languages. Let's go. Exactly. But I left that and I cried my eyes out because I had a great community. I got paid well. I was living in what was my purpose, what I felt like was my purpose at the time, but I knew it was deeper than that. So I left that all behind. And Steve mentioned this before, leaving Silicon Valley. Many people left their jobs even though they were solid, even though they were fulfilling, because they knew that there was something deeper, that soul's calling. And I want to bring it back to right relationship because I think it's really important for us to recognize that when we put it down to a single number, when we put it down to like, oh, I'm getting paid well, therefore everything else is going to work well in my life. We're multidimensional beings. There's so many different aspects. That's why I love, and you'll see in the demo that I'm going to share with you here in a little bit about the areas of well-being. And this is, again, where I come back to how technology can help us being used in right relationship. Not as extract, exploit, manipulate, control, power dynamics, self-serving interests. You know, I love the model of the human body. I mentioned the central nervous system before. If you have a group of cells operating in your own body out of their own self-interest without regard to the whole that they're a part of, you label that a cancer. You label that a cancer. And I also just really want to land here that I feel like the best symbolic representation of this transition that we're going through is caterpillar to butterfly. Because I say that because cancer is a bad thing. A caterpillar dissolving itself to then transform into the butterfly is a good thing. We're going through birthing pains right now. And it's hard to put myself in the mind of a butterfly, but I have to think that the butterfly doesn't look back at the caterpillar and say, fuck you. And we're all in this together. We're all in this together, regardless if you're Zuckerberg or Musk or any of these people that are out there. I don't think that hate is going to help this go to help this movement go forward. Power games are not going to help this move forward. Technology in right relationship. All of the aspects of ourselves in right relationship. I'm a takuyasan to all of my relations. Learning, again, from the Native Americans, the connection to the earth, to the land, to the ways that our bodies speak to us, the way that nature speaks to us. And to me, it feels important to put that into our technology because it is so powerful. It's like the central nervous system. Connects all the cells. Well, you can either extract from all the cells or you can empower all the cells. I'm here to empower, and I hope that you saw that throughout this evening of all the amazing people who are in this community who are sharing this beautiful message of what it is like to live in actualization. So with that, I'd love to go into Actualize Earth. And we're a little bit short on time, so I might be a little bit quick. But there's so much here, and we empower people with the apps and resources to support them in their journey of actualization. And I think we already covered what actualization is at this point. And myself and Padme are working on this. Padme has been a community builder, amazing business developer. He knows a lot about the 508s and the PMAs and so much that can support us in our community developments. He's also one of the more actualized people that I've met. And I think that's one of the reasons why we've come together and working on this, because I see the gifts that he has, the power he has, the clarity that he has, and how powerful of a teacher that he can be to help spread the wisdom from these different workshops, these different trainings to more people in our community. I shared a little bit more about myself. I already kind of shared the underlying issues. We're a sick culture. Over 50% of people are obese. We're increasing our rate of suicide. The number of people who are happy is going down. Like, there's a lot that is at issue with our world right now. And so how can we address this? Well, again, it's technology and right relationship. It's not just coming in with the technology and saying, hey, if we just all use this app, it's going to work. That is not at all where I'm coming from. What I'm coming from is there's a lot of really amazing people in our community who are supporting each other in many different ways in the hierarchy of needs. Hierarchy isn't even the best word, but how do we empower those people? How do we help get their message out? How do we support them in connecting with the types of people who are looking for or needing the types of resources that they're providing? Again, these are not the types of questions that technology generally asks. Again, you look at something like Facebook, and even the way the majority of the internet has evolved, it's about tracking you everywhere that you go. You become the product, and they sell you advertisement that is what makes them money to continue. We're shifting that model, and that's why we're launching this membership model, this membership token tonight. And so while there's a lot that can actually fit under the umbrella of actualization, we've narrowed it down to our 4 main pillars right now. The Actualize onboarding and coaching and consulting services, which is what Padme is going to head up, and he'll share here in a moment on that. The Actualize app to help people connect to the events, connect to the people. The Planetarium show, which I'll share a short trailer for you in a bit. And then creating and supporting community living opportunities, which is huge, with majority of people 40 and 50 under are not in a place where they can actually afford housing anymore. And we're seeing in the same pattern in evolutionary biology, when there was a scarcity of resources, the cells started to come together and more effectively communicate. This is an opportunity for us to actually create on the ground conscious living opportunities, and not just throw people into the wind and bring them together and hope for the best, but provide them the types of tools to support them in their journey through years of research and experience in intentional communities. Not super important in this moment regarding time, but I'd love to bring Padme up to share more about the coaching and consulting aspect of Actualize.
Thank you.
Got you.
All right, hello. First, I want to say there's something beautiful when you meet someone that actually brings a symbiotic relationship together, and that's something that Juicy and I have. His ability to be the manifester and the creator of such amazing tools and have those passed on to me so I can actually support onboarding into what we are creating has been amazing. What he's created, my ability to take that and market it and switch people from our old platform to a new one has been amazing. I think we're almost going to hit 4,000 people in the Boulder area, probably here in this next month. So that's pretty amazing.
Probably the next week.
Probably in the next week. Yeah. So one of the things that really bring us together is community. So this app isn't just about how we can connect events and going on there, but we want to take it a step further. And the community aspect of it is actually bringing the community together with shared language, bringing us together with how we can support each other and actually see the resources we have in our community, which a lot of us have resources we don't even know about. Some of you have training in areas that I've never even heard about before. And maybe there's something I need, maybe there's something that you need, and how can we actually get access to that and know that it's available in our community? So some of the things we're doing to bring that together is bringing the conscious communication part, which is something I'm really excited about building. Conscious communication I would speak about is us creating a way of having dialogue that we share collectively, so we have that language of understanding as a base level. That is our base level of understanding when we have shared language. And that is what culture is built off of. It's ways we do things. It's the way we actually speak to each other. It's the way we resolve conflict. It's the way that we actually share our unique gifts with one another and be seen. And when people are seen and heard and feel that they're heard, they actually grow. And that's where we actually get our growth from. We are the seeds, and when we water them, we begin to grow collectively. With the Community Builders course, so one of the things that I've been passionate about, one of the businesses I have here in town is called Awaken Earth. And Awaken Earth has all been about community development. I'm currently working with 2 eco-villages in Costa Rica, 1 in Hawaii right now. And I've been setting up 508s, helping them with conflict resolution, helping them with systems design of how they can actually build structure into their culture and bring in the play and joy that they all share that actually is the glue. Besides food, it's how we dance and play and come together. So we created a 3-month builders course on community that's going to bring us through levels of conscious communication, shared language, and it's going to bring us through some of the stuff we've learned through possibility management, which we both took collectively about levels of responsibility, how we can show up responsibility. What else did I put on there? Oh, game world theory. I love game world theory, which is really big about identifying how you actually show up in community so you can actually plant that flag and be like, oh, this is me. This is how I show up in community, and this is the role I choose to take. So creating roles and development within community is something I'm really passionate about. It's something we did a lot with One Boulder. Archetypes, developing leadership. I think what I just spoke about is like when we grow and we see seen and appreciated by people is when we grow. That is our leadership. Our leadership is when we feel seen and heard and we are willing to share our gifts. That is the first step of stepping into leadership. The next is identifying how you showed up in leadership. When we identify our gifts as our ability to actually add to the collective, you are taking a leadership role. So when we develop that and we see where you're coming from and we can name it and we say, we elect you to be this person, whether you're the Heyoka in the group or you're the, game world builder that's actually keeping the codex and everything together like this guy does so well, is really important. So I love to figure out how to identify where you're at in community and help you identify that so you can plant that flag for yourself and show up in the collective. And then beyond that, after we are doing this program and identifying the leaders within the communities, we want to create actualized community housing. So right now, I just moved out of the house that we're living in. I'm on the road. I'm selling my house in New Mexico. I'm launching down there. And we want to go to different communities with some of the money we're fundraising and actually set up community housing where we're teaching people that went through the program to take that leadership role of creating the shared language, creating the culture, creating the understanding of how we can share in this mycelium web network that we live into collectively. So no matter where you go, I would love to be able to go to an actualized house in North Carolina and have shared language and have the understanding that we know each other and we come from the similar background and understanding. And yeah, and basically, yeah, what am I really trying to say here? Community housing feels like kind of those hubs, like having these different hubs where we can go and connect to different people. So when you get to connect to these different hubs, you already feel like you're in a community. If you move, how hard is it to onboard to a whole new community, meet new people? What if there's a hub you can drop into and be like, oh, wow, this is where we connect. This is how we find our people. This is where we're at. So that's the community hub aspect of it. Yeah, and I'd say that pretty much covers it. Anything else I'm missing?
No, you got it.
All right. Well, that's it. Thank you so much.
All right. Let's run this. So we have just a little bit of time before we need to close at 9:30. However, one of the things I'm really excited about is launching version 2 of the app for anybody who chooses to buy a membership token tonight. So this is what you currently see if you download the app. And I don't want to go into too much detail. It's kind of your cookie cutter. It has all the different features that you'd expect, but it's the 5 bottom navigation that you see in most apps. Oh boy, did I hit a bug in a demo? That's not cool. It's funny because I've never seen that bug before. It's funny how tech communicates, there's a secondary layout that I've been working on that really, to me, hits more of the flavor of what I believe is going to be incredibly supportive for us in our ongoing growth and development in our communities and in ourselves. So this is based around actualization. You can see we actually have 3,977 people in Boulder right now. And these are our local tools. So some of them you're used to in One Boulder. We have a calendar. If the internet is cooperating, we have a directory that's built in. You can see the people in the community who are actually the creators who are creating different types of events and publishing them for people. So for example, I could go here and check out, probably who's the best person to check out? Logan always has a bunch of events. And so as you can see on his profile, these are his upcoming events. He's part of the Ministry of Movement, and he's got a whole bunch of events coming up, so it's a good way to browse. We also have human design built into the system, if anybody's a human design fan. But one of the coolest things, I just want to draw attention, because this is built to be like an app system. Think of it as like an app store, just like Apple is and just like Google is, except the difference is the container of the people who are coming together are here to actualize. We actually have one agreement. And I just want to highlight the fact that the one agreement, and generally I ask people this, but just for brevity of time, the largest agreement field that we have on the planet right now is Facebook's terms of service. Yeah. what if we flip that on our head and say, everybody who comes in, I'm here to actualize. I'm here to develop my well-being and be in right relationship with life. Well, then that opens up a slew of possibilities for people who might want to create an academy or list their coaching service or different trainings, or even like create a whole list of challenges for people of like, say hi to one new person every day. These types of challenges that can prompt people in their growth. And, okay, how are we tracking that? Well, you notice this little purple bar here, that correlates to well-being. And so people have the opportunity to share well-being in the community. And so, for example, I could be like, oh, what's physical well-being? Oh, what types of events will support me in my physical well-being? What types of services? What type of products? What type of trainings? This is like going to extend and encapsulate using well-being as both a lens and a tracking mechanism to support us, and connecting these different resources where we're not just relying on some infinite scrolling feed and some algorithm to hopefully throw the right thing our way. So that's cool on the individual level, right? But we're here to actualize Earth. It starts from the individual and it goes to our community and it comes up to the Earth. And so if you notice that those purple bars actually stay for both of them, and those purple bars are currently the number of people who have submitted well-being surveys in Boulder, Colorado. So we can actually track how well communities are doing and get to understand what is working and what isn't, and where might we be able to support them. Oh, there's a lot of relationship coaches in Boulder. Oh, there's a lot of people struggling in relationship in Iowa. Let's start weaving. There's a bunch of tools. One of them that I am really excited about is the ability to explore your community based on different skills. So these are the skills of people in Boulder, Colorado. I could find somebody who does permaculture design. Okay, cool. I'll check out Matt Rentz. I think they have a really awesome event coming up this weekend, so you should check out. And just a way to kind of browse and explore. We also just recently, I just want to call out because we talked about Humanities Team. We just listed all of Humanities Team's live events that are happening in the Earth section of the app. This is where you'll find all of our online events. And this is so that people can, even if they're in the middle of Nebraska, still find connection to the larger conscious community. The other cool thing based on this simple layout, I just have to call out, is this really unique design elements for our communications and for our tools. So for example, I'm one click away anywhere in the app to get to, sorry, Alexis. It's all good, sorry. But anywhere that I am in the app, this is what happens when it's live, right? Anywhere that I am in the app, I can get to my events that are upcoming. I can get to my notifications. I can get to my chats. I can get to my settings. I can get to my search anywhere that I am in the app. This follows me everywhere I go. So it just makes the app navigation that much simpler. Really, those are the high-level things I wanted to get on the app demo side of things, because I want to fit in a couple more things, if I can do that, before the end of our time tonight. So traction, you know, we've... Oh, wait, that takes a second to switch over. There we go. I talked about traction a little bit, but we have about 3 to 5 events happening every single day in the Boulder area. Over 150 people have paid $22 a month to post to our calendar. I'm really excited about this because this is our outreach, how to reach more people with where they're at. Most college campuses have a planetarium. There's over 1,000 of them in the United States, actually. I helped produce the first planetarium show that Android Jones did back in 2014 here in Boulder, and he has sold out events. He has sold out nearly 10 events every single year in the Boulder area alone, let alone all the festivals that I'm sure a lot of you have gone to and seen the amazing artwork that he does. This is a brief short trailer of what this new planetarium show can be if the right resources are made available for it.
Here in the now, I am hearing the now as I listen, and I listen to the sound that goes on up from the ground. Can you hear now? In the here and now, can you hear that the song of the earth should be singing in the cycle, in the circle around with the sound that carries the ancient memory constantly, gracefully, calling us to heal now. Stewards are we from the inner world, the world we see, raising up our voice for unity.
So all of these people are artists that I've already connected with and know the connections are there. Everybody wants to create this. We just need the fuel to make the car go. Talking about the business model, how we actually make money as an organization. I really just want to cover the coaching, the Actualize app, and the Planetarium show. Planetarium show, you know, we're going to net $3 million from a 5-year running from what the numbers that I've seen so far of what the Planetarium sales have been for Android Jones. The app itself, we're looking to do $11 a month subscription for creators, people who have a little bit more access to tools. Because this is an open source environment, $99 a year so that developers can come on and actually contribute to it. And for people who are actually wanting their own app, there's a whole underlying code base so that people can make their own white labeled version of an app and license it on a yearly basis. The token distribution is what we're going to really talk about towards the end of the evening tonight. And they're meant to represent a lifetime membership in our co-op, which also hasn't formed yet. Part of the reason we're doing this event is to raise the resources to get us to that next level of having all of our, we have the LLC and we have all of our paperwork that we need right now, but we really need to take it to the next level and make this ironclad on a legal level as we really start to grow and launch this in other locations. This is based on the natural growth pattern of life, the golden ratio. So the close approximation is the Fibonacci, the 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, just continually growing. And if we run this type of model, and what we do is, I think I actually have it on a later slide, and I'm gonna, because we're a little bit short on time, a little divergent because I need to at least highlight the cultural creative. This is the piece that I talked about earlier, that the number of people here is actually much more than you think. The Culture of Creatives was a book written in the early 2000s, and they did a number of surveys. They estimated that there's 50 million people in the United States alone back in the early 2000s that emphasize the importance of developing and maintaining relationships, support spending more money on education and community development programs, are willing to pay higher taxes, care about women and children in our community, and see spirituality as an important aspect of life. The number is much larger than we know. And it really just needs to be brought together in somebody to say, hey guys, let's look at just what's happening here. 25% of the population is a cultural creative estimated at this point? Okay, thank you. So this is what we're launching this evening in the short amount of time that we have left. And like I said, this follows the Fibonacci sequence, 1, 1, 2, 3, 5. And then this is where we're actually starting the first round of a sale at $11 in cost per token. And again, it's a lifetime membership, but you can buy many of them. So it's essentially, think of it as an investment in the growth. And so we have 46,000 tokens that were just minted at $11. We're going to have 75,000 tokens minted at $15 and 121,000 at $19. And that's just going to grow all the way up to $81, which as the number Steve pointed out earlier, is roughly about 10% of the world's population, 800 million people. And that's our goal, is to make this is an equitable way to create sustainable fundraising where, again, people are contributing to it, and it's not some weird like marketing track you, sell your data marketing game. The people who pay for a service are the ones who are the customers. We want this to be community supported in that way so that we can actually grow and serve the community as opposed to the few people who might want to come in and make money off of something like this. And our goal is, in the first round of tokens, the 44,000 at $11 each comes out to about 500,000. And so this is the launch of our crowdfunding model. And this is something that can help take us to the next level. If we get 500K, that sustains our operations and starting to launch in a few other cities, bring on a few developers, because I can't be the only person doing the development stuff, and helps us start expanding our trainings and service offerings. If we get to $1 million, then we can start actually creating this planetarium show and start sharing it in other places to bring people in, not just for an inspired experience through visionary art and storytelling, but also to then, just like we did this evening, expose them to some of the different amazing projects that are happening in the world to help connect them, and then connect them to Actualize so that they can find the types of resources that they need. And so obviously the use of funds, things like, for myself and Padme, bringing on some developers, doing some video editing so, we can actually meet people with where they're at, creating the 1 to 2 minute videos and things like that, as well as starting to build out the network and launching in other cities to catalyze this in other places. So my call to action to you is the world is sick. And there are so many lights in it. There are so many people who are doing amazing work in the world. This is an opportunity to create a ship, a movement, a vessel where we're all aligning to a deeper purpose from the inside. Not some high-level thing. Yes, the earth is a living system. Yes, we are a part of it. But let's start it ourselves first. Actualizing ourselves. Tracking our well-being, connecting to the types of resources to support us, and being most alive, most connected, and most joyful in our experience of life. This is what I'm here to stand for. This is what Padme is here to stand for. This is what many, if not all, of the people who share this evening are here to stand for. This is here. And it can't happen alone. We shall assuredly hang together or hang separately.
Here now.
And here now, we are here to live life fully, to inspire, to transform, to uplift, to motivate, and to connect people to the amazing things that are happening in the world that are not talked about in the mainstream media. Technology can be a tool for us when used in right relationship to catalyze a type of shift that we have never seen on this planet.
Yeah.
Coming together. When we come together, raise a barn. Come together in a town, in a city, in a state, in a country, in a planet. Can you just imagine how beautiful that life is? When the skin cell over here doesn't have to think about its survival, about its food, its water, its shelter. When we live in a culture where people don't have to worry about those types of things and can really work on their deeper sense of belonging, their deeper sense of actualization, and the beautiful art that each of us get to create from that space. We are in that juxtaposition of shifting from the caterpillar to butterfly. The templates, the imaginal discs are here. We just need to empower them. You're all here because I have a very close connection with you, your friends and family. Thank you so much for showing up in this evening for this. Please share with what you can in your abundance to support us. And it's more than just money, although we certainly need it. It's like water to a seed. It's like gas to an engine. Support us by helping connect us to the types of things, whether that's housing opportunities and resources, whether that's the educational resources that you have. Only together can we make this happen.
Like the aggregate.
And I just want to add, one of the things about being a member when you purchase a token is you become part of what I love to call a synergetic connection. This is synarchy that we're creating here, and it takes all of us. And so by becoming a member, your voice is part of the ecosystem. So we're just two people, and we're not here to make all the decisions on how the ecosystem grows. So we'll be sending out emails, asking questions, and getting feedback from every one of our members on how we shape and build this culture collectively. So you being a member is also being a part of the team, because your voice matters, and I want to hear what you have to say so we can actually do this in right relation.
Yeah. And even to that end, using artificial, I'm going to use the term integrated intelligence because it's a reflection of our collective consciousness. When we actually use that in right relationship, we can gather information from our community and create a data set that we can actually interact with to support us in gaining more clarity as to where the needs resources and concerns and ideas are in the community. So let's leave it at that because I think we're already a little over on time. Steve's been super.
I want to say one thing. You know, it's in the emergence of the butterfly when all of the isolated individual imaginal discs start to aggregate. That's when the tipping point occurs. Yeah, and where all the muck becomes the food for the imaginal discs when they aggregate, not to get wiped out as individuals, but when they aggregate, the tipping point occurs, and that's when this butterfly. Just as
Thank you, Duncan.
Oh, it's aggregate.
Yeah, another amazing being here that we didn't even have a chance to highlight, but Duncan Campbell has KGNU Radio, the Living Dialogues. Amazing. He's been talking to transformative authors for the last 30 years. Every Sunday. I mean, it's amazing. I couldn't even try to bring up everybody in the community to share their awesome gifts. So thank you all for joining tonight. Please, in the next 15 or 20 minutes or so, try to start exiting. But on your way out, please scan this QR code to buy some tokens and support us in this mission. And if you also feel inspired, please share this with your friends. All of us are highly networked people. Let's get the word out. All right?
That was awesome. You did great. You did real fast out there. Look how tight.